Rafael Dos Anjos versus Michael Chiesa has been added to the main card of UFC Fight Night Raleigh. Blaydes versus Dos Santos on January 25th. First of all, it's a phenomenal card. Second of all, this is an interesting fight. Do you know why I like this fight? Because it's interesting. I love interest, okay? I love questions, and I have my questions to ask. Does Michael Chiesa possess the same grappling as Covington or Usman? No. We know the answer to that. I'm assuming it's a massive, resounding no. However, if he can commit 80% of the grappling that Covington or Usman could, he could still win this fight. Does he have the correct percentage in comparison to Covington and Usman in terms of grappling to take out Rafael Dos Anjos? Because to be honest with you, if you're on the feet and you're Michael Chiesa, you're in trouble, because Michael Chiesa on the feet is dog shit, okay? And we've learned this time and time again. However, he has to get this to the ground. He has to control Rafael Dos Anjos. I like his chances in a 3-round fight. If this was a 5-round fight, I don't see him finishing Rafael Dos Anjos on the ground. I don't see that happening at all. And I do see him perhaps gassing in the 4th and 5th. I think that's a very possible outcome to this. If there was a 4th and 5th round, I think he maybe wouldn't last. But this is a 3-round fight, so it's more interesting. Chiesa's been finished before. He's been hurt many times, but that was at 155. At 170, he seems to have been a lot better at taking damage. He seems to be a lot better in terms of cardio. I mean, at 155, he used to slow down around the second half of the fight, and it used to be a trend with Michael Chiesa. And I do wonder here, we have a similar opponent, and that similar opponent is Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee was able to do as he wished with Michael Chiesa in terms of grappling. And as much as people say there's controversy around that win, there is no controversy around the win that Kevin Lee got against Michael Chiesa. There is none. Michael Chiesa was 2 seconds away from tapping. Was the ref retarded? Yes. I'm not arguing against that. But was Michael Chiesa going to lose? Yes. This is not grappling defense. This is not defending a rear naked choke. Okay? You know what is defending a rear naked choke? Reaching for an arm. Trying to roll out of it. Trying to get out of the body triangle. You know? This is not defending a rear naked choke. So Michael Chiesa lost to Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee lost to Rafael Dos Anjos. I'm not just using the MMA math here. I'm looking at something in very specific things. Kevin Lee is a smaller man than Rafael Dos Anjos. I'd actually say they're roughly the same size. Kevin Lee was able to have his way in the grappling department with Michael Chiesa. He wasn't against Rafael Dos Anjos. He wasn't at all against Rafael Dos Anjos. And that was a bigger Kevin Lee as well. This is a bigger Michael Chiesa. I understand that. However, I feel like the same trend is going to happen here. If Kevin Lee can do something to Michael Chiesa that he can't do to Rafael Dos Anjos, what's Michael Chiesa going to do to Rafael Dos Anjos? I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think he's going to be able to do what he did to Carlos Condit or Diego Sanchez, because quite frankly, those guys are far past their prime. And even if you think Rafael Dos Anjos is past his prime, there's no way he's as far past his prime as Condit or Sanchez are. Okay? I like Michael Chiesa. I don't see him being able to finish Dos Anjos. I also don't see him having the similar grappling prowess that Covington and Usman have, because there's no credentials proving that. He's a black belt. Good job. I don't think he's going to be able to keep Rafael Dos Anjos on the ground, and I don't think he's going to be able to deal with the stand-up of Dos Anjos whilst they're on the feet. I don't think Chiesa, there's some people where there's a level of hand-eye coordination that is just, you either have it or you don't when you're on the feet with someone. And Chiesa just doesn't have it. Like, in terms of stand-up, listen, he could easily go out there and catch Dos Anjos and drop him and finish him. Who knows? From what I've seen from him, he doesn't have the level of stand-up. Like, he just doesn't. He never has. He's awkward on the feet. Everything he throws is to then smother and work into his grappling. I just think that Dos Anjos is going to eat that up. Nice and easy. Kevin Lee, you could say, fair enough, Kevin Lee, Dos Anjos started to take over in the 4th round, but I just don't think that Chiesa has the same level of grappling. To be honest with you, Chiesa's a big boy, and he's much larger than Kevin Lee. Like, Kevin Lee came into the Dos Anjos fight at 170, not much different than he was at 155. I'd say there was probably 5 pounds of extra weight on Kevin Lee. Like 7 pounds maximum. Like, he didn't make a full jump in weight classes, you know. He was still 155 looking Kevin Lee at 170. Chiesa's a big boy. And that does worry me here, because he has a lot more to... There's certain guys that have a lot more to gain by going up in weight. Like, Kevin Lee could make the weight limit. He just couldn't make championship weight and struggled doing it. Chiesa could not make the weight limit. There's a difference there, you know? There's a big difference there when you're moving up in weight. Do you need to move up in weight? Because if you do, you're going to benefit. But if you're just going up because, you know, the weight cut's tough. Hey, guess what? The weight cut's tough for everyone, Kevin Lee. You just made 155 in your last fight against Gregor Gillespie, or whatever weight you made. You made weight in your last fight. I think it was 156. Chiesa cannot make 155 anymore. There's a difference there. And now he's adjusted to 170. 3 rounds heavily favours Chiesa. Heavily favours him. And I also have noticed a massive cardio. I've actually changed my mind throughout this video here. I like Chiesa's chances. If this was a 5-round fight, I would hate Chiesa's chances, because I don't see him finishing Dos Anjos, and I don't see him being able to hang with Dos Anjos in the 4th or 5th round. I don't see the power from Dos Anjos at 170 to make Chiesa pay. I don't see that happening. I feel like Chiesa's going to win this one. I really do. I think Chiesa's got this one in the bag. I think he's going to slightly win a very close decision. And I think Dos Anjos is just going to be a little bit too small at 170. Listen, you put Dos Anjos against you put Dos Anjos against strikers, phenomenal at 170. Robbie Lawler eats him up 5 rounds, annihilates him every single round, picks him apart, you know? Put him up against Neil Magny, smushes him on the ground, destroys him, tall rangy striker. Dos Anjos goes to work. I mean, it seems to be a trend with Dos Anjos here, you know? When he faces a grappler, he has big trouble. And Chiesa is bigger than Covington. He is perhaps bigger than Usman. I don't think people understand how huge of a man Michael Chiesa is. I'm picking Michael Chiesa. I think he's going to get the job done. I really do. I think he's going to go out there and just be too big for Dos Anjos. There's a chance that Dos Anjos flattens him in the first round. Don't get me wrong. Dos Anjos has power. I just don't think that he's going to be able to hang. Listen, if Chiesa was at 155 and was saying, now I'm going up to 170 and I'm fighting Rafael Dos Anjos, I would pick Dos Anjos here. Okay, because Chiesa wasn't adjusted. Chiesa's had 2 fights now at 170. He is a welterweight. He's not a lightweight coming up to welterweight anymore. He's a welterweight. And he's beat 2 fairly good welterweights. Diego Sanchez, Carlos Condit, they're not amazing, but they're decent unranked guys that used to be very good. But they're decent unranked guys now, and Chiesa's beat both of them. Both quite dominantly as well. I just think he's going to be able to do the same thing to Dos Anjos. I feel like there's a case with Dos Anjos where the blueprint has been written. It's the same case with Maia. After Woodley kind of just shut down the grappling and kept things on the feet. If you have that level of grappling, you're going to beat Maia. Usman did it. Colby did it. Colby went for a more wrestling offensive than the other two. Usman did the same thing, but I feel like Dos Anjos is in a very rough patch of his career where it comes to this point with a lot of fighters where the script has been written and you're too set in your ways to make dramatic changes that are going to fix things. And I think that's the problem with Dos Anjos right now. And I think Michael Chiesa is going to win. Trains at a good gym, got all the team behind him that he needs. I think he gets the job done. The Maverick, by decision, close. I can see him losing the 3rd round and barely surviving. But the first 2 rounds, I think he's just going to be too big. And he's going to be too good of a grappler in the first 2 rounds. I don't see him finishing Dos Anjos. But I like this. I also love the card as well. UFC Raleigh is a phenomenal card. Phenomenal card. These are the cards, if they're setting off the tone for 2020 like this, give us more of these cards. Look at the card already. Blaydes versus Dos Santos. Great main event. Edgar versus Sandhagen. Could be a main event of its own. Let's be honest. Edgar versus Sandhagen. If that was the main event, you wouldn't be surprised. That's the co-main event. Dos Anjos versus Chiesa could even be a main event. That would be on the main card of any pay-per-view. That's a big fight. All on the same card. We just need one more juicy fight on the card. Gilbert Burns versus someone, Nico Price versus someone, those two versus each other. Let's make these fights happen. That's a great card though. UFC Raleigh, oh my god. It's phenomenal. But I think that Chiesa is going to get the jump on Rafael Dos Anjos. 2-1. Dos Anjos will win the 3rd round. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. Goodbye. This is a great fight, and I'm glad that they added it to the card. See you later. Goodbye.